Let's stop pretending. The world loves to throw around buzzwords like rising India and democratic powerhouse, but if we're being honest, brutally honest, the future isn't being built in Delhi. It's being engineered, constructed, and coded in China. And by 2035, this truth will be impossible to ignore. While India claps over temporary GDP spikes, China is quietly stacking victories that will leave India 3 decades behind. This is not just about economy or military. It's about who will dominate the 21st century and who will keep asking for development aid while boasting about being the world's largest democracy. Please take a moment to like and subscribe for more content. Let's begin with the economy. As of 2025, China's GDP is over $18 trillion, while India hovers around $3.7 trillion. Now, project this forward a decade with China's Belt and Road revenues, its AI-driven manufacturing, and its dominance in clean tech. By 2035, China is set to cross $30 to $35 trillion, while India may just about scrape $10 trillion if everything goes perfectly. That's not catching up, that's falling further behind. Even Goldman Sachs, which once hyped up India's prospects, now projects China will remain unchallenged as Asia's economic titan. China's middle class will cross 800 million. India's? Still dealing with 200 million people living in slums and garbage-filled streets. Manufacturing is the core of China's strength. From Foxconn factories in Zhengzhou to EV giants like BYD, China controls the global supply chain. When Apple shifted a sliver of production to India in 2023, the world saw massive labor protests, poor infrastructure, and assembly errors. China, on the other hand, is automating, scaling, and exporting billions. India simply cannot compete. Their factories still rely on unstable electricity and water supplies. While China is building vertical smart factories in places like Shenzhen and Suzhou, this isn't a rivalry, it's a reality check. Now let's talk about tech. China has its own Google, Baidu, its own Amazon, JD.com, its own Twitter alternative, Weibo, and a national digital currency already in circulation, the digital yuan. Meanwhile, India is still relying on American platforms, banning Chinese apps out of insecurity, and celebrating when Google sets up another call center. By 2035, China will dominate AI, semiconductors, EV batteries, and 6G. India will be waiting for Elon Musk to maybe open a Tesla showroom. On infrastructure, the contrast is frankly embarrassing. China's high-speed rail network is already over 45,000 kilometers long and growing. India's first high-speed rail line, the Ahmedabad-Mumbai bullet train, was supposed to be ready by 2023. In 2025, it's still under construction. By 2035, China will have magnetic levitation trains, while India will still be stuck with 1970s train coaches and jammed metro systems. Cities like Chengdu, Hangzhou, and Nanjing are turning into digital utopias. India's big cities like Kolkata and Chennai still flood during monsoon season and have garbage burning on street corners. Just compare photos from Guangzhou versus Patna. It's a visual humiliation. In terms of global geopolitics, China is 10 steps ahead. India talks big, but acts small. China leads BRICS+, the Belt and Road Initiative, the Shanghai Cooperation Organization, and is forming military and tech alliances with countries across Africa, Latin America, and Central Asia. India, on the other hand, is busy being the West's plan B for supply chains, a plan that hasn't even worked. US leaders visit New Delhi, make promises, take photos, and then fly back to Washington to negotiate with China because that's where the real leverage is. Even within Asia, nations like Indonesia, Thailand, and the Philippines are trading more with China than India. When it comes to military might, China is transforming into a true blue-water naval power. With bases in Djibouti, Pakistan's Gwadar port, and potential deals in the South Pacific, China is preparing for global reach. Its hypersonic missile tests shocked the Pentagon. Meanwhile, India still relies heavily on aging Russian MiGs, French Rafales that took years to deliver, and an army plagued by internal inefficiencies. China is pumping billions into drone warfare, space-based surveillance, and quantum communication. India is still focused on securing its borders from stone-throwing skirmishes in the Himalayas. Let's not ignore societal progress. China has virtually eradicated extreme poverty, a feat confirmed by the UN in 2021. India still has 600 million people without access to clean toilets. China's education system, though intense, produces engineers, AI researchers, and global CEOs. India's education system is plagued by rote learning, underpaid teachers, and outdated textbooks. And while China is filing over 1.5 million patents per year, India can barely compete with South Korea in R&D output. What about healthcare? China built entire hospitals in 10 days during COVID. India's system collapsed so badly that bodies were dumped in the Ganges. That was 2021, and not much has changed. India spends less than 3% of GDP on healthcare. China is on track to become a biotech and pharmaceutical powerhouse by 2035, with its own vaccines, cancer therapies, and stem cell research centers. India, still importing. Energy tells the same story. China is the largest producer and installer of solar panels, with the biggest hydropower capacity and the most aggressive nuclear rollout program on Earth. India still burns coal and imports oil at crippling costs. Beijing is building entire renewable cities. Delhi is still choking on smog so thick you can't see past 10 feet in winter. Even digital currency is telling. China's digital yuan is being tested across cities, used in cross-border trade with Russia and the Middle East, and is part of Beijing's plan to reduce reliance on the US dollar. Meanwhile, India is still launching pilot programs and begging the IMF for reforms in the SWIFT system. And let's not forget cohesion. China's authoritarian model may be criticized in the West, but it works. One-party rule gets things done. India, by contrast, is a democratic circus. Fragmented coalitions, caste riots, temple-mosque fights, and constant media manipulation. China governs 1.4 billion people with infrastructure. India governs with slogans. Finally, let's talk perception. Made in China used to be a joke. Now it means high-quality EVs, smartphones, drones, and green tech. Made in India still struggles to exist. India is praised by the West not because it's powerful, but because it's harmless. Nobody fears India on the world stage. Nobody adjusts policy for India. But China, when Beijing moves, the world watches. By 2035, China will be a fully realized superpower, economically, technologically, militarily, and diplomatically. India will still be emerging, still promising, still trying to fix its roads while China builds moon bases. That's the future. That's the truth. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe for more future content.